I'm in SPSS and I'm going to do a t-test where we've got paired samples. So this is looking for a difference in the mean of one group and the other where the observations are paired. This is from the tutorial where we looked at the reaction distance, and in this class we decided to look at the difference between the dominant and the non-dominant hands. So we've got two observations for each person, and the unit of analysis is per person. And so each row corresponds to one person, and these observations are what we call paired or matched over each person, which makes it a paired test. So to do the t-test to see if there is a difference in the mean reaction time between the dominant hand and the non-dominant hand, we go to Analyze, Compare Means, and the Paired Samples t-test. So the first variable is reaction distance for the dominant hand, and the second variable is the reaction distance for the non-dominant hand. What's it doing? There we go. Options. Yep, that's fine. So the mean reaction distance for the dominant hand, it looks like I only wrote a label in for one of these, which is a little bit odd, so it's coming up differently. If I go into the variable view, so you can see that I wrote a label for one of them and then must have lost interest and didn't bother writing a label for the second one. You're not allowed to lose interest for your projects. Write a label for both of them. So I only wrote a label for one, which is why it's showing up a little bit oddly. Reaction distance for the dominant hand, where are we? Had a mean of 15 centimetres. This was catching a ruler, remember, so the larger the number, the slower the person reacted. And the reaction distance for the non-dominant hand was also 15 centimetres, a little bit, tiny bit higher. So the null hypothesis is that there is no difference between the reaction distance for the dominant and non-dominant hands, or that the difference is zero, which is the same thing. So the mean estimate for the difference here, where we have done dominant minus non-dominant, is minus 3.1. I was just thinking about which way around that was going. So when you interpret your results, you need to know which way around you have subtracted that. And it's a little bit confusing with this one just because we're thinking reaction times, but actually we've measured reaction distances. So the dominant is caught at a slightly smaller distance than the non-dominant, meaning that the non-dominant was slightly slower, but it's only a tiny, tiny difference. So this is our test statistic, this t-value, degrees of freedom 15, and our significance two-tailed is our p-value, and it's 0.852, which is really, really high. So we have absolutely no evidence that there is any difference in the reaction speed between the dominant and the non-dominant hand in this data set. That doesn't mean there doesn't exist one in the population in general. It either means that our data set wasn't big enough to pick it up, or our experiment was no good. It's probably that our experiment was no good, to be honest, and that's why we haven't found a difference. So that is a paired sample t-test.